Hello, innovators. I'm Todd Wyant, and welcome to the Bridging the Gap podcast presented by Great Tech Group. This episode was recorded live from Autodesk University in Nashville, Tennessee, where the brightest minds in construction, design, and technology came together to shape the future. Over the course of AU, we talked with industry leaders, innovators, and the change makers about the trends, tools, and ideas driving digital transformation in our great industry. So settle in as we explore how to model the future of construction innovation. Enjoy the conversation. Welcome to the Bridging the Gap podcast presented by Great Tech Group. We are recording live from Autodesk University here in Nashville, Tennessee. And excited to welcome back this year again, Dara Treseder from Autodesk CMO. Welcome back. Thanks for taking the time.
Thank you so much. This is like our annual tradition now, right? We meet at AU, we do a podcast together.
What could be better? Podcasting at AU just feels right. So
definitely feels right. No, thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
So I'd love to start off with what excites you most right now about the innovation that's happening in construction?
First of all, a lot excites me. I think one of the things that I'm most excited about is how AI is really changing the game. Of course, it can't be 2025, and we're talking about technology and construction technology and not talking about AI. I'm excited about this because I think that all of a sudden, it's starting to make real how you combine what is happening in the from the planning stage all the way to the job site. It's starting to become more real for contractors. AI has really changed the game in terms of bringing to the forefront how data can really make the work happen not only more efficiently in terms of optimizing material efficiency and reducing waste, but also helping owners make better decisions.
Yeah, it's funny. It's come up a couple times already today of, AI has lived on this kind of continuum of the hype versus when will it become actually practical and a reality. And we have really made a huge move, it seems like, even in the last year of bringing it into the real world and making it practical.
I think in the last year and even the last 6 months, feels like there's been that acceleration where people have gone from, is this one of those things that is just everyone's gonna talk about and it's gonna disappear? Kind of like, remember the metaverse? But now it feels like, okay, AI is here to stay. And so from a construction perspective, we need to figure out for us to have that competitive edge and continue to have the competitive advantage in a world where, resources are constrained and people want us to move faster. They want us to be more agile. We have to figure out how to start to incorporate AI into our workflows, not for the sake of, another cool technology, but because it can help us deliver better outcomes for our customers. And at the end of the day, that's what matters most, right? Solving our customers' problems.
Yeah, for sure. So to me, one of the big areas there is around messaging and getting the word out there. So as Autodesk CMO, you sit at a really cool cross-section between the technology, the storytelling, and helping move an industry forward. How do you go about sharing that vision and helping to create the vision even?
First of all, let's stay with what's true. And I think this has never been more important for any industry as it is for the construction industry. I think a lot of people that work in the construction industry, they don't like hype cycles. They don't want fake stories. They want things that are rooted in authenticity. And so for us, everything we talk about from a storytelling perspective is rooted in reality. In fact, we just launched a new ad campaign, and that ad was inspired by a real story of one of our customers, Penta Construction, that constructed the first ever Formula One racetrack in Las Vegas, and they did it in record time, completing it in just 11 and a half months. So those are the types of stories we want to lean into, we want to celebrate, we want to talk about, and root our storytelling, put our customers at the center, have real examples, and don't focus on how cool the technology is or how interesting it is, but instead let's focus on what does the technology do for me? How does it solve my problems? How does it solve the problems that my team is facing? And we try to anchor our work there.
Yeah, I think it's a great move because you can suss out the marketing hype from a mile away, and people are like, well, let me actually know what is actually going to happen and how is it going to change, what's in it for me mentality of how is it going to change my my day-to-day, the influence that is coming into that. I think being able to speak directly to that and share, hey, this is a real-world example. Here's how it's been done. Here's how you can do it, and create that kind of inspiration post is brilliant.
I think so. And that's why, I mean, if you saw the keynote session that Andrew Anagnos, our CEO, did today, it was really focused on live demos, right? Let's do live demos, which as a CMO made me nervous. I'm not going to lie.
Move.
I was sitting in the front seat, like crossing my fingers and my toes, like, hey, live demos with AI. What could go wrong? But fortunately, all of them went well. And it was anchored in our real customer stories, right? Whether it was a story about the Denver Airport Authority or the story about electric vehicle manufacturers, everything is rooted in reality.
Yeah, it was. He said that this morning, and I was sweating.
Yeah.
A bit. It's a bold move, but it was like
it was a bold move. You were
like,
sweating. You should have seen me. I was sweating buckets.
Yeah, I like the confidence of it. So you're speaking to several different kind of mentalities when you're speaking to the construction industry with innovation. You have the kind of early adopters that are, let's try everything. Let's beta test it. Let's go. We'll test it. And then you have the people that are kind of sitting on the sidelines with their, their eyebrow raised, and they're skeptical of, well, we've always done it this way. Why do we need to change? How do you go about balancing that messaging to speak to both of those people?
Yeah, that's an excellent question, because the reality is, for our technology champions, we want them to know that we are that trusted partner, right? We are the trusted partner that can help not only guide them through and help them with that early adoption process, but that we're actually already thinking about what's coming next, and we're starting to prepare them for that future and bringing that future closer faster. So to that audience, I think we're really focusing on as you're starting to use this technology, what problems are you facing? We want to meet them where they are and help them solve the problems. Now which is a lot of folks in the construction industry, right, who might be a bit more on the skeptical side, right, and adopting maybe not at the same pace. We want to make sure that we are, first of all, we are focusing on what are the problems that matter most to them. So as opposed to us, talking about what we want to talk about, we want to talk about what they are already talking about. So, for example, one of the things that we continue to hear is stakeholder management is a challenge. Right, I'm here I'm managing the construction site, but I have to make sure I'm communicating with the owner. There's the project manager. I don't want to just be moving files along. How can I actually have more granular data that allows me to collaborate more effectively? So we want to talk about, when we start to talk about that problem, all of a sudden people are interested, and then we can say, here is how technology can help you. Yeah. Versus we just start talking about our data management solution. Okay, before I get into talking about your data management solution, help me understand how that is solving my problem. So when we start with, hey, we see that collaboration and stakeholder management is challenging for you. Is that accurate? Yes, that's accurate. Okay, how can we help you address this? Well, with format data management, here's how we can help you address it. So for those that are a bit more skeptical, we root it in their problem, and then we start to talk about how our offerings can help address those problems. Versus for those who are already there, we're like, okay, you started to use the technology. What challenges are you having with using the technology? And then we meet them there.
It's really having a curiosity for the customer and figuring out what are their interests in, and kind of diving into that. Let them, not necessarily, they're leading the conversation of where it's going, but you're kind of helping.
You're there. And if there's a common thread between both types of audiences, I think it's being that trusted partner, right? Whether you're navigating the cutting edge technology or you're navigating change, which can be difficult, and one of the things I love, there's a Harvard Business School professor, Frances Frye, and she says, it's not that people don't like change, is that usually change makes things worse. So people are usually skeptical about change because they're worried things are going to get worse. And when we bring that empathy and that understanding, we can meet folks that are a bit more skeptical, not like, hey, you are against change, but hey, let me help you understand why this change will make things better.
Yeah, well, I think one of the other kind of factors at play is that some of this technology is complex, and it is. There's a lot of, it depends on your workflow and how you go about it, and who you are trying to connect in, and what's your tech stack. How do you go about with the storytelling element? How does that help take a complex technology and make it more simplified?
Yeah, one of the things that we have been doing a lot is getting engaged within community. So I think we do a lot digitally, but we also do a lot in person, and we do a lot of events, kind of like this. Because at the end of the day, especially I think in the construction space. Construction in some ways is a local game. You know what I mean? Like the contractors, the people on the job sites. And so you've got to meet people where they are. You can't just only do things remotely and virtually. There's a lot that has to happen in person and in community. And by the way, that's especially true when it comes to training. If you think about it, if I've got a bunch of contractors that are skeptical about technology, I'm not sure if just another webinar alone is going to get them, there, or just another ad, right, on LinkedIn. They might not even be on LinkedIn. So how are we making sure that in addition to those efforts, we also have some in-person engagement where we can say, hey, on your lunch break or on your breakfast break, why don't you come and try out this technology? Contractors like yourself who have used this technology to solve problems, come and see how they've done it. And actually, let's give you a little tutorial. Why don't you try it out? And all of a sudden, we're demystifying it. Instead of presenting this as some complex AI technology, we're breaking it down. We're making it simple. We're making it more accessible. And we've seen a lot of success with that. So it's that local storytelling that brings together and connects the digital and the physical and helps to demystify the complexity of the tool.
Yeah, I think it's a good balance that we are starting to get to over the last year. COVID obviously made everything has to be digital for, right reasons and all that. But now we've kind of been able to pick our head back up and be like, oh, we don't have to go 100% digital. There is the human-to-human personal connection that you are missing stuff on training if you're doing it just all on digital. You need that kind of balance and blend 100% for sure. How is the State of Design and Make report? How has that given you insights into maybe how that balance is supposed to?
Yeah, so the State of Design and Make report is our flagship report, which looks across all of the design and make industries from architecture, engineering, construction, product design, manufacturing, media, and entertainment, and says, what are the trends and patterns that we are seeing across these? How are they impacting our customers, and what should we be doing about it, right? So we are excited because we just released a new pulse. And I think there were so many interesting stats there, but one of the things that really stood out to me is how 86% of businesses and organizations are saying over the next 5 years, they want to be fully cloud-based. But how many are fully cloud-based today? If I just guess the percentage.
Eating a bit because I heard it.
Oh, you
early.
already? All right, so you're not allowed to get
it.
Again.
Was shocking.
It was shocking. All right. Well, since you already know, we'll just go ahead and tell our listeners here.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was floored by that.
I was floored by that. And I think it just shows us how everyone knows what needs to happen. But when you're converging the digital world and the physical world, we know where we need to get to, but it's a little bit harder for us to get there. And so how do we start to, first of all, build the trust, to get our teams there, lead that change management, then train, because that was the other thing that was found in the report, is that there is still a skills gap, especially when it comes to utilizing tools. And we saw this specifically in construction. Finding, skilled labor who know how to use these tools, there's a gap there. So how do we bridge the skills gap? And then the third thing, that I think is important to also consider is how we are working to ensure that we are making this technology more accessible, so that people aren't only learning how to use it, are becoming really fluent and masters about how to use it, so that they're building it into their workflows in a more sort of entrenched way. And I think one of the things that's interesting for us, part of why we do this report, is it gives us insights into what are we going to do about it. So now when I'm seeing people, I'm like, I think maybe we should have shirts that say 86.3, right? Every day we should wake up and say, hey, we know we need to get to 86%, but today we are at 3. I'm an optimist, so I see that as a lot of opportunity. I think the construction industry is ripe for change, and there's a lot of opportunity because there's a lot of space between 3 and 86.
That's a big delta, for sure.
Big delta.
Is there a particular emerging trend that you see as will come in and help kind of define the construction space in the next, maybe 3 to 5 years to help fill in that 86 to 3 gap?
I think one of the biggest trends that we're seeing is that folks now want to have collaboration at the granular data level. So whether from the pre-planning all the way to operations. So that desire and that understanding of, hey, here's what I could do if I had access to data. I think there was a time when you almost had to sell people on the idea that, access to data and data collaboration was important. But now I think people are already there. Even if they're not sure what tool they want to use, or they're not sure what technology they want to use, or even if they're a little still skeptical about AI, they understand the importance of having that granularity of data. And I think part of that is because owners are getting more involved. And so that stakeholder management is becoming more complex and more difficult to do if you don't have access to granular data. So I think that trend of data management, I think we're going to see that continue to go. And that's part of why I'm excited that we're bringing in Autodesk Construction Cloud into Autodesk Forma. And not only are we going to have these things together, but it's going to be combined with existing products that people are using today, like Revit. All of a sudden, we're making it easier to have that data management and interoperability across multiple tools. And I think that's where the future is heading.
Yeah, I think there's been a demystifying around data, and that a couple years ago it was like data, you had to cling on to it so tightly, and now people are like, oh, this really helps all of us. The rising tide lifts all boats mentality
lifts all boats.
Has come into play around data. It's not a threat that other people have access to this data. It actually enhances everybody. So.
Exactly. It makes all our lives easier, right? It helps us deal with a navigate a constrained environment.
Are there other industries that you look to as something that the AEC industry can learn from in this kind of digital transformation adventure that we're going on?
Well, I think, the media and entertainment industry, they're always a little ahead, right? Hollywood, they always have something to say.
Yeah.
So I think media and entertainment is always ahead. So first of all, I'm always inspired when I see artists, because, artists, creativity is their craft. So I've been inspired to see artists say, hey, AI is important. As long as I'm in control and I'm able to have choice about how I'm utilizing these tools, AI actually is a boon as opposed to something I should fear. And I think all of us can lean into that, right? AI is going to lift all boats, but the ceiling will be lifted by human ingenuity. So we don't need to be afraid about AI. We don't need to run away from it. We need to embrace it and understand that AI in itself isn't going to lead to excellence, right? Or delivering amazing customer outcomes. It's when we combine that AI fluency with human ingenuity, that's when the magic happens. And I think the media and entertainment industry has embraced that a little bit more than some of our more physical world industries. So I think the more we start to embrace that in construction, the future's looking real bright. It's looking real bright.
I like it. I love that you said that the ceiling will raise by human creativity and ingenuity. I think that's spot.
I believe it. I've been preaching that. I really, really believe that. I think that people miss the boat when they think it's only AI, and I think they also, are hiding under, a rock when they think, oh, AI is just a hype. I think the power is understanding that there is a role for human ingenuity. How do we bring AI together, and how do we do it responsibly, right? That's something that I think is important as well.
Yeah, I think AI becomes a superpower to unleash the creativity. For sure, 100%. So Autodesk has a very large partner ecosystem. How have you guys harnessed that and used that partner ecosystem to bring your vision and scale it out?
We love our partner ecosystem. And obviously, since I'm here at Great Tech, we love Great Tech. We love all partners and Great Tech. Our partners are so core to what we do. You heard Andrew earlier today. He talked about the fact that the future is cloud-based, it is AI native, and it's end-to-end. Autodesk, we're a technology company. We're not a services company, right? We're a technology company. And, we love our partners because our partners help stitch things together for our customers end to end. We provide the end-to-end technology, but the implementation of that, right? The customization of that is where our partners like Great Tech come to play. And our partners are so core to our ecosystem because they are adding value on top of the technology that ultimately allows our customers to accomplish what they would have, things that they never even dreamed possible. And we can't do that on our own. So we're all about the pie getting bigger. For instance, like AU, where our customers get to experience not just what Autodesk has to offer, but what our customers have to offer, what our partners have to offer as well. And I think, our happiest customers, our largest customers, not only do they have Autodesk in the mix, but they have got our partners in the mix too. And then we come together and we start to ideate for our customers. And all of a sudden, things that, were previously deemed impossible, we start to see that, yes, we truly can design and make anything.
Yeah, I like it. So as a leader, how do you inspire your team to unleash their creativity and go out, experiment, and test new ideas?
I think trust is at the heart of it all. At the end of the day, I always like to say, the talk track has to be the walk track. Doesn't matter what you say, it's what you do that matters. And as a leader, you could talk about wanting creativity all day long. If you are not creating psychological safety or an environment where your team feels like they can take risks, no one's going to do anything. Right? Because people are going to be afraid. Who wants to take risks when they feel like they're going to be left out on their own? Right. People only will take risks in a psychologically safe environment. So one of the things that I try to do is I try to model that. So when we're going to take big risks, I will put my name on the dotted line and say, if this goes wrong, Dara Treseder is going to be in front of the bus. And if this goes right, the team is going to get the credit, right? And really trying to make sure that I lead from the front when it comes to creating a space. And also, by the way, naming it when we make mistakes. Because here's the thing, when you take risks, even if 99% of your risks turn out well, 1% will go wrong. And usually it's a lot bigger than 1%. And when things go wrong, what do? Do you pretend nothing happened? Do you identify that something happened and actually talk about it and name it and just openly say, hey, we tried this. This didn't work out the way we had hoped, so we've pivoted. And I think I try to model that. So I try to make it safe for people to take risks and understand that even when the risks don't work out, this is still a safe environment for you to take risks that fail.
Love that so much. So you brought up modeling. We are in the Great Tech booth, the tagline, Modeling the Future. What is modeling the future? What does that mean and look like to you?
To me, modeling the future means not being satisfied with the status quo and focusing not just on what you lost or what's changing, but on what you have and the opportunity that's ahead. So modeling the future to me looks like making the most of the opportunities that exist today and figuring out how you can bring a better future closer, faster, and doing it in heels.
You always have great shoes. What does innovation mean to you?
Innovation to me is really taking the path that has not already been traveled. So innovation to me looks like being ingenious. It looks like combining, AI fluency with human ingenuity. Innovation to me is daring to do what hasn't been done before. My team, they know this phrase, MBDB, never been done before. We like a good MBDB. We're not afraid of an MBDB. We're not afraid of an MBDB that might not work out exactly as we hoped. We're willing to go down the path that has not already been traveled. We're willing to do the things that have never been done before, because I think that's where true innovation happens, and that's where you experience breakthrough that ultimately delivers the best solutions.
Yeah, love it. So the softball question for you, where do people go to find out more information?
Autodesk.com. Come to Autodesk.com. We have a lot of information. We're going to have a recap of AU. So don't worry if you weren't able to be here in Nashville. Make sure you're at AU next year. But this year, we will have the recap for you. So make sure that you tune in. We're going to have a lot of exciting news happening throughout the week. And definitely don't miss it.
Some final question for you. If I could give you all construction power, you could snap your fingers and innovate one thing, what would you pick to innovate?
I would bridge the skills gap. That's the thing I would focus on. I would snap my fingers, and all of a sudden, everybody would be an AI expert. Autodesk AI expert, Autodesk Construction Cloud expert. All of a sudden, everyone would know how to use the technology to solve their customers' biggest problems.
I like it. Awesome. Dara, thanks so much for taking the time again and joining us. This was awesome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. This is a treat.
All right. Thank you. And now it's time for my Todd takes from this episode. First take. AI is moving from hype to reality. We've officially crossed the line where AI is no longer just a buzzword. It's showing up in real workflows, saving time and driving better decisions on the job site. The winners will be those who don't treat AI as just another cool technology, but as a tool to solve real customer problems. The pace of change over the last 6 months proves this isn't optional, it's here to stay. Second take. Authenticity builds trust. The construction industry has no time for hype circles. What resonates are real customer stories and tangible outcomes. By rooting messaging in authenticity, showing how real companies actually achieve results, leaders build the trust that's necessary for change. True influence comes from proving value, not promoting features. And finally, innovation requires trust and culture. Adopting new technology isn't just about tools. It's about creating a culture where people feel safe to take risk and try new approaches. Change is hard because most people fear it will make things worse. Leaders need to model trust, create psychological safety, and show that innovation makes life easier, not harder. That's the culture where real transformation happens. Thanks for listening to this episode. If you are interested in learning more, you can visit our sponsor, Great Tech Group, at ASTI.com for more information. You can listen to this podcast anytime by simply going to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Also, be sure to check out our website, bridgingthegappod.com. As always, I'm Todd Wyatt, thanking you for joining the conversation to model the future on the Bridging the Gap podcast. Keep innovating.